Do you feel this vehicle is safe for highway travel?
Yes, I do. Yes, I really do. I believe that. I know it's not pretty to look at, but it'll get you where you want to go.
Now, you got no outside mirror.
No, we lost that.
You have no functioning gauges.
No, not a one. However, the radio still works. Funny as that may seem, with all this mess, that the radio is the only thing that's really working good, and it's clear as a bell. Don't ask me how.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Blood and Black Rum podcast. I'm Ryan from coldsploitation.com, and I'm joined with my co-host Martin.
How's it going?
We're here for another Turkey Day. Turkey Day is coming up pretty soon. Thanksgiving. For Americans, I shouldn't speak for the rest of the world. Americans have Turkey Day coming up.
As an American, you speak for the rest of the world.
I guess so. The Canadians have already had theirs. And
they had it at the wrong time.
In the film that we're covering today, we have a Canadian pretending to be a U.S. citizen celebrating the natural Thanksgiving, what I would call natural, that occurs in November. Whereas Canadians, theirs occurs like...
He's not a Canadian. He's the Poker King of Milwaukee on his downtime, sells shower curtain rings.
It's true. I think we talked about this when we did our episode on Dutch, which was last year.
Dutch.
But it's weird to me that Canadians celebrate. I mean, I guess it's weird to them that we celebrate in November. But it's weird to me that they celebrate their Thanksgiving festivities in October. It just seems so early.
Ours is way past harvest time.
Ours is?
Yeah.
I guess
the way this country now celebrates Christmas like it's a fucking 3-month
extravaganza.
Yeah, they might as well just move it back to October.
Yeah. But
put it right before Halloween. We don't need Columbus Day anymore. Just get rid of Columbus Day.
That's basically what Thanksgiving in Canada is like the middle of October. So they get like Thanksgiving.
And businesses would love
Halloween.
it too. You get rid of Columbus Day, replace it with Thanksgiving. That's one less federal holiday you got to worry about.
I feel like businesses would like that because you would have a lot more chances to have like giant sales or like what you would do quote unquote giant sales.
Well, get rid of that. If you just got rid of Columbus Day and moved Thanksgiving to there, then you'd be losing that Columbus Day sale on,
Is that a big thing? Yeah, I guess it is a little bit.
For like cars and like furniture.
But I feel like they would have more chance to be like Christmas is, because then you don't have anything in between Halloween and Christmas. So you just be like, Christmas is coming! Putting that panic in everybody's face.
We got Veterans Day.
Buy shit. So, yeah. But I feel like, I think we talked about that a little bit on our Dutch episode. But
yeah, well, your sister's like ever growing every year, like moving more and more towards the Christmas spirit in like the middle of October.
Yeah, I know.
I just want to give her a stone cold stunner.
She does, though. Yeah, she gets...
People like that are the bane of, like...
She's starting to get...
It's obnoxious.
Like,
that's why there's a war on Christmas, because you know what? You used to just be 12 days of Christmas, And
that's it.
And then slowly but surely you've been...
Well, 12 days of Christmas occurs after Christmas. The first day occurs, like, on Christmas, and then further from that is the rest of the days, because you're getting presents, like... It's almost like Hanukkah, but for Christmas. Like, we couldn't just have Christmas. We have to co-opt Hanukkah, too. That's what 12 Days of Christmas is. Anyway, we're kind of off track here. We're talking about Christmas. That's for our other episodes, our
next series.
Yeah, our next series
which
that we
is
do.
in 2 weeks.
Yeah. But this time, because Thanksgiving falls on a Thursday, and technically our episode should release that Friday after Thanksgiving, we felt you would want the Thanksgiving episode prior to that. You wouldn't, and we would have to release it on Thanksgiving. Doesn't give people a chance to really celebrate Thanksgiving prior to it. You're not building up. There's no climax to Thanksgiving. There's no climax. I'm going to say that again. There's no climax to Thanksgiving. So I decided that we would do our Thanksgiving episode this week. And then when we come back in 2 weeks, we're pretty much just going to start the Christmas episodes, the weekly Christmas episodes leading up to Christmas. And that way we can definitely get 4 episodes in for Christmas, which is sometimes a struggle because Christmas occurs like in that 3rd week of December. So a lot of brainstorming, a lot of math going on the Blood and Black Rum podcast to figure out when the best
Consulted the scrolls.
That's right. The best day for the Thanksgiving episode to hit, and we found it.
Talked to the astronomers and astrologists, and
that's right. We consulted. We're like, what's Blood and Black Rum podcast's astrological sign, and then what's the moon phase that they're in as well? That's in as well. So yeah, we're doing a Thanksgiving episode today. Last year we did Dutch, which is a John Hughes favorite of mine. Not so much of Martin's. We talked about this a little bit. I joked with him and I said, hey, maybe we'll do Dutch Part 2 this year. And we'll just do a new look at it. And I said, maybe Martin won't be a shit for this one. Like he was for the last episode with Dutch.
Because it's a terrible movie.
I don't think it's a terrible movie at all.
It's a terrible movie.
It's a seasonal staple for me.
I feel bad that Ed O'Neill was participating into it.
Now, for Dutch, like, I would say that Thanksgiving through Christmas is John Hughes' time frame for me. I watch all John Hughes movies during this time frame, and Dutch is a big one. And it's probably been like 5 years since I first watched Dutch. I never actually had seen it until one year when I looked up a list of Thanksgiving movies, and I was like, Dutch? What's that? No one's ever heard of Dutch. So I watched it, and I was blown away by it. I said, you know what? This is another great John Hughes film that I found. But it's not the best Thanksgiving John Hughes film. I will agree with that. It's not the best one.
The fact that he's got 2 tells you something.
Well, you know what? I'll say that in a second. But so he has 2. Yeah, you're right. And the one that we're doing today is the best John Hughes Thanksgiving film. 50% of John Hughes Thanksgiving output.
There might be one that we're missing.
Maybe he has done one, or maybe there's like a touch of Thanksgiving in one of his movies or something. But the best Thanksgiving film by John Hughes is Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
I was going to say, it's the quintessential Thanksgiving film.
That's right.
There's 3 films I would say, I'm pretty sure I brought it up during Dutch. There's 3 films I would say that everyone should watch on Thanksgiving, because it's a marathon day where you're just with the family, eating, watching football. Mm-hmm. Planes, Trains, Automobiles, Alice's Restaurant, and The Last Waltz. Mm-hmm. Those are the 3 films you should watch.
I don't think that anybody's going to watch Alice's Restaurant on Thanksgiving.
But it's a Thanksgiving movie.
I know it's a Thanksgiving movie. I just don't think anybody's going to watch it. I think anybody watches that movie to begin with, except for you.
Just listen to the damn song.
There you go.
It's 20. Instead of being an hour and a half, it's just a 20-minute long song.
There you go. You can do that instead. Yeah, I think Planes, Trains, and Automobiles is John Hughes' best Thanksgiving film by far. It's definitely better than Dutch. Dutch came later, but Dutch is an inferior, as you said, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. It's very similar in
beat for beat.
Yeah, I mean, it follows the same types of things. One unlucky event after another for haphazard, weird double couple film where the 2 people don't get together. They don't get along, and they have to learn to get along.
Yeah, an odd couple.
Yeah, that's what I was looking for.
One's a mean, miserable prick, and the other one's a cherub-like, goof.
Yeah.
Or as John Candy would say, because he's Canadian, a goof.
A goof. And the other thing about Planes, Trains, and Automobiles is that it has the right amount of, I would say, comedy and the lightheartedness and the emotional beats that you need for a film about, Thanksgiving, which really, at its heart, is about being thankful for your family and being, just thinking about your family and thinking about the things that are in your life that you're really thankful for that some people might not have. And that's Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. And the same thing is true of Dutch. I mean, it does touch on the same exact themes, especially even like the finale is that climax of coming home to a scarlet-haired woman and seeing her and just having that emotional resonance of the songs that they pick for the finale. It's both the same in Dutch.
You know what I was thinking about?
And Home Alone.
I was going to say, you know what I was thinking about? Is Uncle Buck Christmas or Thanksgiving?
Is it either? I don't know.
I think it is because John
Uncle
can't.
Buck is one of those. Is a film actually that I don't know very well. To be honest with you, I don't know that it's. I didn't realize that it had a holiday at all.
I can't remember. I've only seen it once.
Yeah, I don't really know that. I have to look it up now because, and to be honest with you, I need to revisit Uncle Buck because it's been a while since I've seen it, and it's not one of those films that I watch very often. The same thing with how you mentioned John Hughes films as Beethoven, and that never strikes me as a John Hughes film.
You're right. It should strike as a Charles Grodin film.
Actually, I think because of the proliferation of Beethoven sequels, it strikes me as a direct-to-home video film. But it's not. The original Beethoven was not. But the sequels
classic.
were, and that's why it always makes me think of a direct-to...
That great third one with Judge Reinhold.
You know what? I don't even know if I've seen the rest of the sequels. I've seen a couple.
I've seen. We had the first 3 on VHS, and it's got a lot of watching. Third one has Judge Reinhold in it.
Yeah, I don't see for Uncle Buck. I don't see a specific time frame. So maybe it is in there. Like maybe there's a Thanksgiving scene or something like that. But I don't see a specific time frame where it would make me say yeah, that's a Thanksgiving film. I don't know. Don't know.
Well, I think the thing too with John Hughes films, a lot of films we consider John Hughes films aren't even John Hughes films. He just wrote the damn things.
True. That's also true.
Yeah, if you're Chris Columbus, you gotta feel pretty shitty. You direct
You're
Home Alone.
overshadowed. Yeah.
You directed Home Alone.
Yeah.
You ain't getting no recognition about it. It's just like, oh, that wonderful John Hughes.
That's true. There are a lot of John Hughes films where John Hughes' script is like, yeah, it's a John Hughes film.
Same thing like Beethoven.
It's really not. Here, though, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles is by definition a John Hughes film. It's directed by John Hughes. It was written by John Hughes. And so this 1987 film is certainly a John Hughes film.
And I brought it up when we were watching the movie, and just kind of thinking about it. If you've seen one John Hughes film, you've seen them all. Because literally, beat for beat, story arcs, what's going on, it's all the same, just slightly different situations, and then changing up the cast, to make it interesting.
I think one of the things, though, that is interesting about John Hughes films, and you're right, I mean, he does copy his templates, sometimes, like in the case of Dutch is like a copy-paste of Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, switch out the characters, switch out a couple of situations, you have a new movie.
This movie, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, very similar to Vacation. Mm-hmm. You would got practically the same car, except not in wagon form.
You're right. Yeah. But I think the interesting thing about John Hughes films is that though the templates are the same, though it's a very similar idea in all of his plots, the creativeness comes through in the actual events that are happening. Like the actual Goldbergian design that he has of bad luck after bad luck after bad luck. Those are the things that you look for in a John Hughes film to say okay, this is why I'm watching. This is the difference between Home Alone and Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. There's a little bit of a difference there, even though the actual storyline seems like you could just take a template and fit it in to another John Hughes film.
And that's probably why The Breakfast Club is also probably is easily my favorite John Hughes film, is because I think out of all his films, it's different enough. There's enough different
It's been a long time since I've seen The Breakfast Club. You're telling me there's no traps in that one? there's no shenanigans where criminals sneak in?
There's shenanigans.
Yeah, no, I know. I'm just kidding.
But it's not
Yeah.
I think the fact that it's just set the school library really helps the film out too.
Yeah, for sure. Because we're talking about with Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, obviously the name alone suggests that we're going to be in various locations. So some movies don't really, like The Breakfast Club, don't really differ from their settings. They stick in one setting. That's a difficult thing to do, to stay in one setting and make it interesting throughout the film. On the other hand, you have a John Hughes film like Planes, Trains, and Automobiles that has copious amounts of settings. It's just all different settings.
Granted, they're all they're different settings, but overall, if you think about it, with most of the stuff shot, it's those motel rooms, they're all the same thing with the car, but it's still funny.
And a lot of the set designs are like retreads of set designs that he does use or has used or will use. So like the house in this one, the colonial brick looks a lot like the Home Alone house. Or, the Dutch house. They all look very similar. It's all stems from his own upbringing, his Chicago.
Suburban Chicagoite.
Yeah.
Chicago, what would you be, a Chicagoan?
Chicagoan?
Chicagoite?
I think Chicagoan.
Chicanoogian?
I think it's Chicagoan.
Chickahua?
Chicagoan.
Oshkosh? Oh gosh, it's Uganot.
This is the time where we would take a break to do beer talk, but we don't have any beer on the show today.
Well, we have beer.
We have beer, but we don't have anything new, so we're not going to bother. Why bog down the show with a beer that we've already talked about? So, sorry about that. Next time we'll get something good for we'll start our winter ales for the Christmas shows. But for right now, we don't have anything. So, we're just drinking regular shit. All right, so Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, we'll get into it a little bit. 1987 film. It's a road film, basically like a lot of John Hughes films. So,
as I told you, every film of his should open up with Holiday Road.
Why not? It's all holidays, so why not open up with Holiday Road?
Just imagine that opening credit sequence instead of having like the car and like flight taking off, just
Holiday Road as Steve Martin and Kevin Bacon race down New York City Strip, trying to find a taxi. Absolutely,
that'd be great. Holiday Road.
That would be good. I mean, somebody should just do that for all John Hughes films. They should just make a video of replacing the opening, and it just present it out there. It's Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. As like this is the original director's cut, except we've replaced whatever the first song is with Holiday Road. I might do that. I might just get taken down super quick.
You know what? Lindsay would understand.
But I'm going to do it. So that opening, let's talk about that opening scene. First of all, why is Kevin Bacon in this movie? Where did that come from?
Why not?
In the 80s, you're saying, you know what? Just like you would do at breakfast, you're like, why not Bacon? Why not?
Is he
available?
He looks so dapper and like such a dandy with that mullet and scarf.
He does look dapper with the scarf, but at the same time, he looks like a ragamuffin too because of his hair.
No, see, because it's the 80s. He's styling and profiling.
He looks like he's trying to be a fucking Bon Jovi stand-in in this movie.
The funny thing is, though, he looks like a Bon Jovi stand-in from 95.
That's true. Yeah,
not 85.
Not the 80s.
Because he had,
Bon Jovi.
John Bon Jovi had much bigger hair, but
so I guess we should say Bon Jovi looks like a Kevin Bacon stand-in. That's more accurate. It's more accurate. But
and you know what was really sucked me to get to see his balls in this one. Like in Friday the 13th.
I just always strikes me when I watch this movie. It's like, well, why? Kevin Bacon, where did that come from? Where they're like, we're gonna have a Kevin Bacon cameo.
He's probably they're on set one day and saw Kevin Bacon walking by and John's like, hey Kevin, you busy?
Yeah,
you want to be in the scene?
I mean, this was like a good heyday for him. Kevin Bacon was doing stuff, and it wasn't like it was his big period, though.
You know what they should have done? They should have had either Dan Aykroyd or Eddie Murphy
show up right there. Yeah,
because that would be like trading places.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, it's not a John Hughes film, but
No, it's not. But yeah, it would make sense, and you have the New York City setting, and it always strikes me that you have Kevin Bacon show up there. It's just I don't know where it came from, and I kind of want to hear the backstory of it. Just like, why Kevin Bacon? Regardless, though, yeah, you have that opening scene that sets up. There's a nice little bit of Goldberg play here as well, like the Rube Goldberg device of Kevin Bacon and Steve Martin are running down the street. And as I said, Kevin Bacon is certainly forgiven for thinking that Steve Martin cannot outrun him in a race because he's probably like, look at that old 70-year-old across the street. He wants a taxi as well. He's like, I got this. I'm in the prime of my shape. And Steve Martin's like, I'm only 35 years old in this movie. Steve Martin is always looking.
By the way, what an inane, innocuous job profession they gave him in this movie.
like ad executive,
that's another John Hughes staple.
giving people like random business.
Ridiculous jobs, like Chevy Chase with being like, and the Vacation series being like, I'm a food additive.
Yeah, getting bogged down in corporate world. Yeah, I got you. Yeah, I mean that does. Yeah, he always gives people like these weird. I mean, things that you might not think about people having jobs as,
but they're like upper class jobs,
right?
too.
Right.
You know, yes, I'm a ad executive.
Like Chevy Chase is definitely struggling as a physicist / food additive consultant who can't afford his pool without a bonus. Super struggling. Yeah, Steve Martin's the same way here, except we know like he's upper crust in this movie because he's wearing the 30s noir outfit.
It looks so ridiculous. His hat and his
pinstripe and
expecting to pick something up, being like, I don't know, Phelps.
The other thing too is that Steve Martin gets the very like noirish detective look, but then John Candy gets the like newsboy hat and a perm, like a curly haired perm.
I want to know why they gave him the perm.
I think it adds quite a bit. Just like
it does make him look even like goofier. But like, he's got his. They should have let him grow his hair out a little bit, so like it'd be like a little bit of like a nice
longer on that.
Yeah, I mean, unless he has to have like a traditionally 80s perm, but like so it's a little bit more kind of throwed out instead of just like these really tiny curls.
I think it works pretty well because like when you first see him in the taxi cab. Steve Martin opens the door and he gives that like shock expression. It's hilarious because you're like just blown away by the goofiness of John Candy's
and that
appearance.
Nice pencil thin mustache.
Nice mustache going on. I know. I think it works more so than it doesn't, like with the perm, because there's a lot of moments where just his appearance alone is enough to like make you laugh in this movie. And that's, I think, another big selling point of John Candy too, is that like him just being in the movie.
Well, that's why
amps this up like 10 degrees.
Well, this is where like whereas criticizing John Hughes for having very generic, if you've seen one John Hughes film, you've seen the other. Mm-hmm. His strong suit is getting a great enough cast around it to make the material work.
Right.
It's like AC/DC. Everyone that doesn't like them bitches about like, it's just the same 3 chords. Well, you know what? They're good, and they change it up enough to where you can still rock out.
Different,
yeah. So you know what? Like,
use it enough.
Same thing with John Hughes.
Yeah. I mean, the casting on this is pretty perfect. Steve Martin has always been sort of a uppity asshole, like in pretty much everything that he plays. Like that's typecast for him. And so like he's perfect as the foil to John Candy.
These stereotypical typecasting of being, the lovable doof.
Yeah, and he really is here. And in this case, it goes a little even further than that, though, because I think John Candy's really good at getting that, like, the emotional element across that you need here, and that Steve Martin is being such an asshole throughout that you're actually, you're like, yeah, this would suck to be part of Del Griffith's, convoy. But at the same time, I probably wouldn't be such an asshole about it. And so you get that emotional resonance within Planes, Trains, and Automobiles that works and makes it, it builds and builds. And you have, like, the ebb and flow of, like, they're fighting. No, they're not fighting. They're getting back together. Oh, no, they're not.
And it's funny, too, because the way Steve Martin treats him and is such a bastard to him, you wouldn't think he's, like, trying to get home to see his family. He's like, I'm trying to get home because I got a horse to fuck.
Yeah, I was thinking something like, wife. You know what? In Steve Martin's case, at least he does want to get home to his wife. Because he could go the Mad Men route and just like fuck his way through New York City, Wisconsin. Although I don't know how much you want to fuck through Wisconsin.
Wait, Kansas.
So he could do that instead, and he could just be like, you know what? I'm missing Thanksgiving, but I'm gonna eat, muff instead. So
going down to Muff
right.
Town.
Yeah, he could be doing that.
Which again, but like his personality, you would think like he's like, oh, he doesn't care about his family.
That's true.
But then when you see they flash to his home and you see his children, how they're dressed and whatnot, you'd be like, you know what? I probably wouldn't want to go home to that either. Like, I'm making all this money for this shit.
Oh, you're so mean to their kids. So mean to their kids. But you know what? They also did get what's the kid's name there? What's the kid's name? That Matthew Lawrence. They got Matthew Lawrence.
I almost said
here.
Nat Lillard.
Matthew Lillard. No, not the greatest Scooby or Shaggy of the 90s and 2000s. No, not Matthew Lillard. Matthew Lawrence. Yeah, they got Matthew Lawrence here, who we just saw in Tales from the Dark Side. So you would want to go home to Matthew Lawrence with his super ridiculous bowl cut,
his proto bowl cut,
whatever that is.
It's like half mushroom, half bowl cut.
Yeah,
he's got like, a lot of mullet in the back.
The back is really long and overhanging, but then the front has like it's cut almost like a flying saucer, so that he can see out. You know, it's not covering his eyes because if it was long in the front too, it'd be covering his eyes. So they did like a flying saucer cut. Or what I would consider like an avocado cut, right? Like like longer on the bottom and then shorter on the top. That's what I would say. He's got an avocado cut. Yeah. So Matthew Lawrence is one of his kids. He's got like 3 kids, right? 4 kids?
Yeah, he's got the girl,
the younger son.
Him, and then like the little baby.
Yeah. So.
We're not sure if Steve Martin fathered that child. He might not have been virile enough.
That's right. So you got Steve Martin just flying from New York City to Chicago, wants to get home to his family for Thanksgiving. He's got like what 2 days when he's starting out on his trip, I think.
I don't know. You made it sound like he'd be home by 9:00 at night.
Well, yes. So I mean, 2 days to Thanksgiving, because New York City to Chicago flight is like 3 hours. So you're fine. You would have more than enough time. And I think the intent is that he's supposed to get home 2 days before Thanksgiving. Like he's going to get home that night. And yet they get a really bad snowstorm in Chicago at O'Hare, closes Chicago down. They get rerouted on the flight to Wichita.
Which is dumb.
I don't know why anyone would...
Chicago, okay,
yeah.
so...
I don't know.
Oh, wait, hold on. We're not going to, like... Kentucky or Tennessee, no, we're rerouting you all the way out to Kansas.
Yeah, that sounds like a bad airline. I don't know why.
Well, it's American Airlines.
I really don't know why they would pick Wichita as the destination. They're like, you know what? There's like plenty of closer airports that probably aren't getting massive amounts of snow, but we're going to Wichita instead. You know?
It's just that's another. And you said like that's just another John Hughes staple. American Airlines sucking at their jobs.
Yeah.
Because they show them always loud and proud in, these films.
American Airlines just not being able to get the job done.
We won't get you where we have to get you.
Instead, we'll bring you to Wichita.
American Airlines should have flown Southwest. Just a picture of the lady on the plane shrugging her shoulders like, eh.
Oh, well.
You bought first class? We got a seat for you.
I was saying too.
Which that would piss me off too. Like if I never flown, so I couldn't tell you. But I mean, if I bought a first class ticket and you gotta say coach. I'm like, no, I bought a fucking first class ticket. Yeah, we overbooked. Well, how's that my problem?
Yeah. They're like, you've got a coach seat, so you can just go have a seat back there.
If Steve Martin did that today, he'd be fucking
tasered,
getting his balls tasered in by TSA back at the air, at LaGuardia or Kennedy, wherever the hell in New York City.
I don't even think he'd get through the security checkpoint with his big trench coat.
They wouldn't let him on.
They would be stopping him. They'd be like, "Sir, why do you look like a spy from Mad Magazine with your trench coat and hat?"
Sir, I'm going to need you to put the hat in the garbage can. Doesn't meet TSA regulation.
Are you 3 kids in a trench coat?
I just love, too, also, a little off topic, how every 3 years they're adding new rules to flying as if, we're just another terrorist attack away. Hey, we're going to make it now that you're going to have to have your ID on you at all times. Have fun.
Now you're going to have to have a passport or a
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
License.
The real ID.
Yeah, planes, trains, and automobiles reminds you of the simpler times of flying. You know what? Nobody has any phones. They're just sitting there reading the newspaper like well-read individuals.
That one girl was reading an Us Weekly on the bus.
Yeah.
Everyone, John Candy was reading some fine literature too.
No wonder voter turnout was so much better back then. You're all reading the paper like good, educated Americans.
Reading, the Chicago Tribune or the Wall Street Journal.
That's right. That's
Something.
right.
Post, Daily News.
He's pulling out their phones and playing Snood. It's a dated reference. No one had Snood on their phones. Candy Crush, I guess, would be the better. Snood, yeah. Snood.
That's a 20-year-old.
Yeah.
You want to pay for Snood? Nope.
Not the paid version.
I'll just play the same 10 levels over and over again. Nope.
Snood.
These kids that didn't play Snood.
That's right.
They don't know what they're missing out on.
One other thing too at the airport, John Candy's reading The Canadian Mounted, a nice Harlequin romance novel with a sexy lady with a bikini on the
You are
front.
just waiting to bandy that one out.
What, The Canadian Mounted?
No, Harlequin.
Oh, Harlequin, the Harlequin romance novel. Which
brings to your favorite part of the movie,
which part?
where as he's reading the novel and pulls the.
Oh yeah, that is true. Yeah, waiting in the airport, and so Steve Martin's reminded.
It's probably my favorite part too.
Yeah, Steve Martin's reminded of where he's seen Dell Griffith before, and he remembers him from the taxi cab. And there's this very cheap shot of Dell Griffith behind a very clearly detached taxi cab door, while he's sitting. He's got his outfit on from the taxi cab, but he's sitting in the airport. And it's pretty hilarious because I don't know if it's intentional or not, but it's really funny.
I think it is.
I think it probably is too. They wanted that really cheap, where he was like, where do I know him from? And so he was still thinking of the airport, but he's remembering the taxi. But still, it's really funny because it's just a really cheap shot where I can imagine John Hughes being like, "Oh, we need a shot of him remembering where he first met Dell." So they were just like, well, you know what? We're in the airport. Let's just shoot it.
Take the door off.
Put the taxi cab door up, and it's great. But and again, too, it's John Candy with his
facial expression.
Yeah, his whole facial expression and his look that just adds to that moment. But yeah, that's a really funny scene. I really like that scene. That always gets me. There's a couple things that get me all the time when I watch this. I'll talk about him when we.
The fact that John Candy's a shower curtain ring salesperson.
That's great. Yeah, the shower curtain rings. That's something.
How innocuous is that?
I feel like even in '87 that was innocuous, where you would be just like shower curtain rings, and especially because they're Walmart special, the plastic $3 shower curtain rings. And
really, I was saying I just bought a pack because I just bought a pack of shower curtain rings, and they were $1 for them.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, that cheap, huh? Well, do you know what though? Dell's only selling these to women for $5 with earrings as earrings, so they can't be that expensive. But yeah, I do like it too because especially when he's going to places and when he goes to that first hotel after they're in Wichita, and they get a ride from Doobie and Doobie's Taxiola with the soft hard rock that's going on in there, taking the scenic route. He gets to that first motel. And the guy greets him. He's like, "No, Griffith, how the hell are you?" It's just so hilarious to see. He's so excited to see this guy who must come around quite a bit to sell shower curtain rings to motel owners. Thinking
probably why they stopped at nothing but only the finest motels along their journey.
You know what you got to think about too is why are these hotels replacing their shower curtain rings so often? And people ripping them down and wrapping up dead bodies in the shower curtains? Or fuck.
Would have been great if we stopped at the Bates Motel.
Yeah. Fuck, we're missing another 10 shower curtain rings. We gotta call Dell again. Gonna get the specialty kind.
The Czechoslovakian ivory.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's a good touch. Again, that's another really weird detail that you that's what you watch a John Hughes film for. The weird details like that. Or at that same hotel, the detailed swapping scene, just like in Home Alone, swapping the credit cards in this one, or Kevin's passport getting swept into the garbage like that really quick scene. You get that again where they swap their credit cards, and that sets up the rest of the film's, shenanigans, where, especially towards the end with the rental car, where you find out about, that he actually put the rental car on Steve Martin's credit card instead of his own.
What a time to be alive, too. There's no,
Diners Club.
There's no internet. So they got the old bricks to fucking, which if you don't know, and the only reason I know is because the convenience store I used to work at, if the power went out,
you'd have to supplement.
We'd have to fucking use that old brick to actually do it, because they're like, no, we're still accepting credit cards. And basically, if you don't know how it works, is you set the card down on the old brick, you lay the paper that on top of it, and then you swipe it over so it imprints the embossing and all that onto that, and then you write out the total amount, the date, and then like when the card expires, and the person's name. That way you can staple it to the receipt, and eventually that'll get mailed to the credit company to then charge the person for that.
I feel like that method...
I'd say, what a way to live. Like, you can just be like, if you had no money, it's like, fuck it, keep running, and like, you get what you want, and then like 2 months down the road, then deal with like the consequences, like, oh shit,
Yeah.
Now it's just like, denied. No.
I feel like that method doesn't work anymore either, because a lot of cards aren't embossed. And they have the chip on them, and I feel like if you ran that brick over the chip, it would break the chip off.
Probably.
So I don't think
you'd
that
be able
works
to use
anymore.
it anymore. It's totally
I don't think it works anymore. I don't think that's like a thing anymore.
But it's just funny, like, because it's like, I just love seeing like all those like old things that you see that like were even like a little bit before our time, but they're enough, we know enough about them. And
yeah, I mean, I definitely know of them. They used to have them when I worked in retail as well, and never really had to use them. But yeah, they were still a thing. But I think now they're like not even. They're not used anymore. I don't think they can be used.
I remember the one time I was showing somebody when I was working how to use it. I'm like, oh, it's real simple. And I took my debit card out, put it on there, and I went and I did it, and I like bent my debit card in half. I fucking did.
Yeah.
I was like, oh,
that was always a
like
possible consequence of that too. Is like, fuck up your card.
I was
really
like, because it's got 4 sides, like where you set the card down. There's 4 sides to it. They're kind of like guide rails where you set the card in, so it's supposed to lock into place. So when you because you got to pull and push real hard to get it to go over. Otherwise, it won't imprint it well. It's like an old-timey like printing press. And so by being set there, it should, keep it from not moving. But when I went to show the person how to do it, my card fucking moved, and I bent that thing right in half. And I was like, I just got that debit card. God damn it.
Yeah.
Good times.
Yeah, Plane, Trains, and Automobiles reminds you of the older times. There's a reference to Datsun in this one.
That's probably the most dated reference.
Yeah, they so when Steve Martin is going to rent a car, and he gets to the actual car rental slot where the car should be, and it's not there. After he gets dropped off the bus from a guy straight out of like the Florida bayous, as you said, he's like, "Yeah, you're jumping."
Fucking guy from Waterboy, home Baba Boucher.
Yeah, you can barely understand what he says at all. You can just hear he says like "Viva." But that's it. So when Steve Martin gets to that parking spot, he has to hike all his way back through the airport, which, again, here we go. Steve Martin would have never made it on the terminal to an airport walking across like that because he would have gotten fucking tackled by TSA right quick. But he walks across a terminal and goes back to the rental car outlet. And yeah, he says, I want a fucking Datsun. I want a fucking
Mustang.
Yeah, Mustang. Yeah, something. The Datsun is a dated reference that would be pretty funny for somebody to ask for that now.
Which that's probably easily the most well-remembered scene.
Yeah.
Him going on his F-bomb tirade.
Yeah, probably. I believe that Planes, Trains, and Automobiles is a PG-13 rating. So this is one of those movies that got around the more recent... Oh, actually, I'm sorry, it's an R. It is an R.
I'm pretty sure
I've always thought it was PG-13, but I guess it's an R.
I was say, because I brought it up before on the podcast, the rating, I can't remember the fucking name of the documentary, but about the rating system. Mm-hmm. And that was one of the movies they talked about.
Is film not yet rated?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's one of the films they talked about.
Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
And how, like, if they said take that out, and John Hughes like, nope, and like, all right, get an R.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense because PG-13 generally you get one hard F.
I'm pretty sure in the 80s you didn't though.
What's that?
In the 80s you didn't though.
Maybe in the heyday of when they first came out with the PG-13 rating.
I would say a lot stricter because that's why Spielberg was crying about Temple of Doom because it had like some of the action and it was going to get an R. He's like, it's not that bad.
Right.
And that's why, PG.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely can see that, there's nothing else that's really stands out about Planes, Trains, and Automobiles where it's going to get a hard R, except for the F-bombs. There's like 7. So I can see why that pushed it over. Arbitrary? Probably. I think 13-year-olds can stand to hear a couple of F-bombs.
Yeah, I mean, they could have just had him say, I want a goddamn car, write this goddamn,
I think actually, one F there, and then not any other, like just regular, like vocally yelling, would have been a good, and actually maybe a better scenario for that, because the fucking starts to get overly ridiculous, which is supposed to be.
Well, I mean, because the whole punchline is her afterwards like, "Ooh, you got your car receipt? No, why? Threw it in the fucking ground. Ooh, you're fucked." That's the whole punchline.
I think in like 2. I think 2 would have been fine, right? So he could come out and you could be swearing and be like, I want a goddamn car. I want to.
I mean, I'm fine with the scene how it is.
Yeah,
like I said,
I'm fine with it too.
Because the whole punchline is, looks like you're fucked.
Yeah.
So I think him just using fuck is what makes it work. Because if he says goddamn and then says like fucking once, her then saying like, oh, it looks like you're fucked isn't going to work as well if he goes on that. I'm just trying to rationalize it from like
the PG-13 rating. Yeah. I mean, it is kind of arbitrary that they're like, this swearing is a little bit too much. It's going to push it over into an R. It's really like none of the other content is remotely an R, and it's just kind of arbitrary that fucking too many fuckings gets an R, but. Yeah, that's a good scene too. I mean, that's a really good scene. That's probably one of the most notable scenes of Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Is that you get that scene, especially with the Minnesota accent.
I was gonna say I don't remember her name, but she's like in her and Ben Stein are just about in every fucking
cameo in each of them.
Yeah. Because Ben Stein's got one in here too. Like, looks like the flight's delayed to welcome to Wichita.
Very very quick cameo. Yeah, very quick cameo. So, what do you think about the interplay between Steve Martin and John Candy? Obviously we talked about Steve Martin being a really big asshole, John Candy being a lovable goofball. But do you think that it works pretty well throughout this, and do you think it's like consistently working?
Yes, I think the play between them was very good. Steve Martin is always hilarious, and John Candy is even funnier. It really sucks that we lost him so soon. I think their play between them works really well because I can see a lot. Like if I was in Steve Martin's position, I'd probably be fucking going off the rails on him every now and then too because he's such like a putz and like klutzy and
he's always messing that
and just like not knowing when to just like shut the hell up for a second and. Like if I was on the plane sitting next to John Candy and having like, oh, dog's really barking today, pulling his shoes off and his socks and like whipping into the road. Oh, gotta let them dogs breathe. I'd be probably losing my shit too. He's actually pretty patient for the most part. He just kind of has a little, some smart ass remarks every now and then.
There is that one scene where they get to the hotel room the first time and he kind of goes off on him. He's like, I could sit through any insurance seminar. I can sit through anything. I've been with Dale Griffin, which is pretty harsh. I mean, that's like a really, really harsh tirade
tirade
that he goes on. Yeah.
I mean, no, it is. That's like I'd say the one flaw is because even though this like takes place over just like a couple, like 2-3 days, they have like these like 5 times a day. Like, you know what? That's it. Fuck this. We're not doing this together anymore. That's it. That's it. You know, and then
They're like a on again, off again high school couple.
I know, but it's like
every 5 minutes. Like,
but it happens so often, like you know, over a short span of time. It's like you'd be fucking kidding me. You know?
Yeah, like those are the beats that John Hughes likes to use throughout. You know, so you get that. Normally, a film is building and building. You think like, oh, they're getting together really well. You know, they're going together really well, and then all of a sudden, there's one climax where it's like, nope, they're in a fight, and now there's like the whole moment where you see like both of them on their own individually. Somber music playing,
and then they realize they're
better off together. Yeah, normally that's like the movie beat. You know, that's in every Adam Sandler movie, right? Like that's literally every Adam Sandler movie to a T. And
followed by the end credits being by Pete Townsend's "Let My Love Open the Door."
Yeah. So like that's normally the beat, and in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. That's the idea as well, but it's more. I guess there's more times where that occurs. Like it happens minorly a few times throughout the movie, where you have the scenes where Steve Martin goes off on John Candy, and then they get back together.
Like that first time, like that would have been safe. Like I think for like a little bit like later down the road, not near the end. Because they're starting to kind of get along, you know, a little bit more. But, like, I think it would have been better suited off, like...
saving that a little bit. Just
till, like, either, like, the second third or, like, a little bit, like, after, like, the half mark. Because it's, like, literally, like, a quarter of the movie in. He's already like, you're a piece of shit, you know?
That's a very harsh...
And buries him, you know, and...
Yeah, at that point, you'd be like, with Dell, you'd be like, you're an abusive asshole. I don't want to, you know, room with you anyway. But poor Dell, he's just
because
so
out of all
starved.
the tirades that he gives, that's like the most damning one.
That's probably the worst.
You know,
yeah, for sure. Because it just keeps going. Like you think it's going to end. You think he's going to end with like the insurance seminar. Nope, but he keeps going. You know, and it just keeps going on, and it gets worse. And you know.
And I think it would have been more impactful too, because Dell says, like, you know, I wish I could be like you and live an easy life of being, you know, angry and pissed off all the time, but I like to see things on the bright side because I can't hurt people. You know, like I can't, you know, that something I'm not capable of doing because I feel, you know, sympathy and empathy. So I think if you had that later on after they've already gone through a lot more crap where Steve Martin like finally snaps or something like if you had after like when like the car
starts on fire,
you know, lit on fire. And then, you know, when Steve Martin's, like, after John Candy's having his moment talking about his wife, and Steve Martin's already cozied up into the hotel, like, that would have been, like, before they get to that part, had that fight happen there. That way, we can feel more like Steve Martin's having, like, as he's sitting in his, you know, his nice cozy bed while John Candy's out there freezing, like, maybe I am being a piece of shit.
That's true. I think that would work really well. I think that, you know, if they had swapped that a little bit and not had him go off so much at the beginning, that probably would have been really successful. And then you would have even felt worse for Dell as a character. Because then at that point, you're starting to get, like, put it together as a viewer, too. You're like, you know, Dell, especially when, you know, I guess this might not happen in that scenario, but when Steve Martin says, you know, here's to the wives, at least you've got a wife to go home to, and Dell doesn't say anything. Like at that point, as a viewer, you're like, okay, you know, you're putting that together. But yeah, I think that would have been, you know, a really good moment where if they had put that rant there, you would have really felt bad for Dell, and you would have had a lot more resonance going into the end of it when Steve Martin then, you know, gets on his train and into Chicago.
So gets on the you know,
yeah, comes back and says, "Oh shit, you know what? I think Dell's wife is dead."
In which, by the way, what an awkward scene that is too, as he's on the train having his like piecing it together about, you know, about Dell
sitting there making expressions.
Yeah, just awkward expressions.
I feel like I've done that though.
Just like laughing to himself. Like
I feel like I've done that though. Maybe drunk, but you know, like just sitting there as you're drunk, you're like, that was a funny moment. But I feel, I guess I could see it though. I mean, but yeah, that's like almost like that's like the 80s version of a Saw movie where you have like the finale where they're like putting it together like doo-doo-doo, doo-doo-doo, doo-doo-doo. Dell's wife was murdered. Doo-doo-doo, doo-doo-doo, doo-doo-doo-doo. Yeah, I know. But yeah, that's I get it. I can understand Steve Martin's expressions because I feel like I've done it, but yeah, it's funny.
I'm not saying we haven't done it before. It's just funny that they like put that in the movie. Like it would have been great if they had someone like sitting like across from him and like getting out of here. This guy's fucking great, just chuckling to himself the entire time.
No, that's normally the New York City subway. This guy's on the L. So, let's talk about the ending a little bit because when we get to the end, we talked about like the emotional resonance of, especially because John Hughes keeps hitting us with those fucking emotional synth scores that are like, it is like a lot like a Phil Collins song.
Yeah, well, one of them sounds exactly like In the Air Tonight. Like,
but yeah, like you don't ever get that like. It doesn't go into that part of the song. It just keeps, being that like emotional, emotional somberness. And I gotta say, it's pretty effective. The soundtrack itself is pretty effective. But then once you have the end there, where he figures out that Dell's really alone and comes back to get him, and then they go back to his house, where Steve Martin can be like, look at my house, look at my kids, look at my wife. I live a really charmed life. No problem. I'll pay for that car that caught fire. It's no problem. $20K? No problem. I got this.
I'll say, look at my nice big suburban home and my beautiful wife, my children, and her parents. They're still alive. And my parents, they're all still.
Yeah, I will say that watching when I'm not being critical about it, watching it gives you good feels. Gives you a nice little like, yeah, I would miss my wife. I would miss my kids. But at the same time, when you think about it critically, and yes, Steve Martin is doing a good thing by bringing Dell home. I'm not saying that that's not true. But the connotation at the end is sort of saddening because you could just see like Dell
breaking
kind of crumbling
like,
a little bit
inside.
Yeah, because you just think about it, like, yeah, Dell is happy to be in a home. It's great. He's having Thanksgiving with someone else, his friend. Now.
Well, I say what you don't see is during the middle of like their Thanksgiving prayer, he just breaks down.
Yeah, right. Because he's sitting there with all these people who have nice families, and he's like, I've got no one. It's great that you came home to your wife. I'm glad I got you home to her, but like, I'm still when I leave here, there's still no one.
Well, like, that's the other thing too. When you think about it, it's like, so what happens to Dell afterwards? Does he just like
Steve Martin the next after Thanksgiving dinner is like kicking him out on the stoop, and he's like, all right, Dell, all right, we'll see you later.
There's a nice neighborhood down in Oshkosh that you'd sell some of those shower curtain rings too. Have fun, bud.
Go visit the kids' homeless shelter from Home Alone 2. Yeah, that I just like when you don't think about it too much. The ending is nice. It's great. He brought Dell home. Dell's gonna have a nice dinner. But the final scene of John Candy giving that smile, which is almost not like a smile, it's like kind of like a grimacy smile, does make you remember. Oh yeah, Dell's wife is dead. So, like him seeing all of this, greatness of Steve Martin coming home to his wife is sort of like making him hurt even worse. He's like, I'm not going to have that ever again. But yeah, I mean, it works. And, you have Take My Breath Away playing in the background. Take my breath away. So sad. So yeah, I've always
say that's the original part of God, what's that Michael Douglas film? Falling Down. This is the original, like the aftermath. Yeah. This is the original pitch for Falling Down.
The one thing
John Candy's One Bad Day. Just
the one thing that always has struck me too is when they come home and they meet Steve Martin's wife, and she comes down the stairs.
That's not his wife. That's his daughter.
Yeah, that's his daughter.
Those are his grandchildren.
And she gives that like sultry, because I guess you're supposed to think like she's very verklempt from seeing Steve Martin come home.
Spend 2 days.
But it's very sultry when she says, hello, Mr. Griffith. And today I thought, you know what? That's the sequel, Infidelity in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. The sequel where they're just doing it everywhere. Her and John Candy.
He is a handsome man.
That's the next installment where Steve Martin gets cooked.
You know what I was thinking about? Now I think about it. John Candy's carrying a portrait of his wife throughout, right?
Right.
If she died 8 years ago, that math ain't making sense, because you know what? She would not have had like that Cher, Tina Turner,
80s perm sort of thing.
blown out hair.
Yeah. 87.
Yeah.
Would have been 79.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
This movie's timeline doesn't make any sense.
Well, maybe he just thinks it's 8 years. Been 8 years.
Maybe, you know
it's been
what?
less.
Fun fact: not even a picture of his wife.
Yeah,
Some strange
just some
lady.
lady from a magazine. Marie. I kind of feel bad about that too, because the film kind of plays that as a joke when he pulls out the photo and it's kind of like a frumpy looking woman who's his wife. And it's kind of like a joke. And then you feel bad later on for laughing at Marie being a frumpy lady because she's dead and that was his one love. And then you feel
I think
bad.
she looked frumpy.
Yeah, she does. She does. I mean, I feel like they did it on purpose because they gave her that like very cheesy glamour shot. I feel like they wanted you to laugh at that. Like, oh, that's like, that's a cheesy photo of his wife.
I think you're taking it as cheesy.
Maybe I'm just seeing it now as cheesy. Maybe that was unintentionally.
I was say because that type of picture.
Maybe
that type of portrait now is just
Yeah, maybe that at the time that was just like normal portrait mode.
It is.
Yeah. So maybe I'm not supposed. Maybe that just makes me a bad person now for laughing at it, and then I find out she's dead, and I feel bad.
Well, that's why I said it's kind of ridiculous that like she died in '79.
Yeah,
she's got
it's true. Yeah, she's got the very like '80s hairspray.
Way ahead of the time.
Yeah.
She bought stock in Aquanet. You know.
Yeah.
Or, no, she was using Soul Glow from Coming to America.
Yeah.
Let your soul glow.
Yeah, I always do feel bad. Like in Home Alone, when they see Buzz's girlfriend, that's actually like a young boy in makeup. So it's fine to say woof to that. Like they did that on purpose. But with this one, I do feel bad when I laugh at that picture. But all right, so we talked about the major beats in this, but now I just want to throw it back to like we talked about some of our favorite moments. But like, what's another like one of your favorite moments from Planes, Trains, and Automobiles?
I really like the whole driving down the highway and John Candy's playing to Ray Charles as Steve Martin's passed out and he's
doing a mess
there,
around.
Playing the keyboard, the keyboard, dancing, and the saxophone solo.
They're doing the mess around.
Yeah.
That's great. I do love that. Yeah, especially because, like, that whole that scenario leads to a lot of different funny moments. Like, him just doing taking off the jacket, dropping his cigarette. Then Steve Martin wakes up because he says that they almost hit a deer. But it was because he's trying to take off his jacket. And Steve Martin's like, it's hot in here. You should take off your parka. John Candy's just like, I think I will. I think I will take that off. Those are good understated moments. But
one thing I don't get is why he just didn't stop the car.
Because he's on a time limit. He wants to get Steve Martin back to his wife. He knows. He's like, you know what? I can't stop the car to take off my parka. I just got to keep going. But then that also leads to the other funny scene of them going the wrong way down the road.
I love that they're going pace long enough with another car for them to be yelling back and forth, and John Candy's doing like the
the drinking motion. I know.
Oh, the booze.
They've been drinking. How would they know where we're going? Yeah, it's great. It's classic John Hughes for sure. Like roadside, Yeah,
because the scene was these shenanigans happened in Dutch.
And you know what, too? They filmed the Christmas Vacation car scene where he gets stuck under the tractor trailer right on this road. On this stretch of road. They did it at the same time. That's
freaking the skeleton that he reused in Home Alone 2.
Yeah.
The devil one's the best part.
I have a shirt of that from Fright Rags that I got. Fright Rags did a shirt of Planes, Trains, and Automobiles where where they have John Candy as the devil.
Yeah,
and that it's great.
It's hilarious. Just him just like
cackling. Yeah, that is a great scene. Because it just leads to so much buildup within that. So like that's one of those moments where, like, yes, you have the simplistic template that's going on, but the detail within the template is really good. And then you have like
the players to make it work.
Yeah, exactly. And then you have just thing after thing that happens to make it even funnier. Because not only then, after that, once they stop the car, catches fire. So you have just like constant one-upping on top of, and
at least we got a
things.
reason too earlier about why the car would get caught on fire. Because usually in films, the car just catches on fire. And explodes for no goddamn reason. Here, like John Candy was just being a lazy schmuck. Instead of rolling his window down enough to throw his cigarette out, he had like a little tiny hole. He's like, you know.
Yeah, you do. You get a reason for that. Yeah, there's like I feel like in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, the details are covered. Like with the credit card swapping, that's covered. You know, you have the two cards that look very similar. The Diners Club, which I don't even know what the fuck Diners Club is anymore. That must be.
Yeah, I have no idea. But I know
Soul 80s.
I would say, but
I really don't
and
know
90s. But I mean, I remember hearing about it. But what it actually is, I
have no idea. That one is one that goes right above me. I don't know what the reference to Diners Club is. Maybe some people can chime in and let us know what that is. But so you have that whole setup. The detail is really good on that. And then you have, like him putting his wallet in the glove compartment. So then later on when the car catches fire and he says, "Oh no, I put the credit card back in your wallet." Like you as the viewer are already like, "Oh shit, you know what? That credit card's burnt up." And then then you get the scene where he pulls out the really small burnt up credit cards. Like,
here's my diner, my gas club it.
Yeah. So the details are really good here. I think that's what really makes Planes, Trains, and Automobiles stand out, because they did go and I feel like one of the problems that you had with Dutch was that it's actually really kind of it doesn't have as much detail, and they kind of extend scenes for too long. Like the fireworks scene from Dutch that we talked about, which like goes on forever. Whereas in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, no scene really feels like it's too long, because there's always something going on. There's always some sort of detail that's going on in the scene that will set up another joke to come.
And because it's John Candy and Steve Martin and not Ed O'Neill trying to carry some 7-year-old to victory.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they just did a really good job setting that up and making sure that all the jokes kind of play into each other throughout. So you get that, like, the really bad luck antics throughout the entire film. Yeah, it just works really well. I think one of my another one of my favorite scenes. I gotta pick because there's so many. I think another one is when they're drinking their alcohol in the motel after they
nice
made up.
Little mini bar.
Yeah, they made a little mini bar and they're sharing this moment of joy with each other. I like that because, like, a lot of times they're at odds with each other. They're not really, goofing around with each other. It's mostly Steve Martin being upset with John Candy for some reason. In this scene, we get them together, and it shows that they can actually, have a nice dialogue together and laugh about some of the things that he did. So, like, Steve Martin is now laughing about the stuff that happened to him instead of being pissed off about, the car catching fire. And then John Candy has that great line about having griddle marks on his ass because of the hot seat that was basically metal. So you have that nice little
got to see
interplay
that
between
too.
them.
They showed the car, the interior's totally melted down, and
Yeah, that's great. And also another good scene is when Michael McKean shows up as the sheriff, pulls them over, and just very, very serious about the whole thing. It's like, do you think this automobile is safe for road travel?
safe for highway travel?
Very, very nonchalant about it. Just like, he's seen this shit all the time. Burnt out car traveling down the highway.
Well, it's the darndest thing. All the gauges don't work, but the radio still comes in clear as a bell. Don't know how that works.
Still great radio. Yeah.
Do you think you can let this go? I know we broke the law, but I'm trying to get him home to his family for Thanksgiving.
Impounded. Yeah, that's another good scene. I like that. Especially because you get actors that you know are really great, prestigious actors like, Michael McKean. And
I love that he gets third billing on the end credits.
I don't know why.
Neither do I.
It doesn't make sense. Maybe, do John Candy and Steve Martin get billed at all at the end? Because I think they probably count that as
no, I think they did.
Oh, do they?
Yeah, at the end.
Because I didn't know if they counted the original opening credits and then they don't bother to bill them again, but could be.
Well, we didn't even get opening credits. It's just the title card playing.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
And then we get into
One thing I should say is that you should stick around for the credits because there is
another John Hughes staple.
Yeah, there's that final credit sequence after the last of the credits roll. You get another little look at the advertising executive that's still reviewing the magazine covers that he could choose from. There's a lot of little things in here that are really funny. Did we hit everything that you wanted to talk about? I don't know. I just can keep going. I can keep talking about things.
It's going to be our longest episode yet.
Yeah, no.
7 days long.
Yeah, right. I think I touched on everything. We're not going to go through the entire film. Watch the film, right? But I think we touched on all the really funny moments, all the riffs that we had. I'm trying to think if there was anything else that we missed. I don't think so. I think we got through everything. But we got to rate Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. So, on a scale of 0 to 10 Canadian jackets for that young mischievous man who steals their money from the hotel room.
Canadian tuxedos.
Canadian tuxedo. Out of 0 to 10 Canadian tuxedos, what would you give Planes, Trains, and Automobiles?
I'd give it an 8. I think I'll give it an 8. It's really funny. It's been a while since I've seen it, a couple of years. Pretty funny. I love John Candy. Even in the movies that he's been in that haven't been too great, like, Canadian Bacon, still, he still makes them enjoyable just because of his demeanor and his physical humor and his facial expression. Steve Martin's also really hilarious, too. It's like I said before in the opening, it's not my favorite John Hughes film, but I think the whole interaction between Steve Martin and John Candy is what makes this film great. Even though, like I said, like a lot of John Hughes films, they have very similar beats, and it's basically the same rehashed idea over and over again. It's his knack for getting the right people to portray the kind of slightly different scenarios, and I think John Candy and Steve Martin are terrific, and their interaction is what makes this film absolutely hilarious and a timeless Thanksgiving classic. We could go on for hours just talking about like all the different. And Ryan was right about like how like it is detail oriented for like all the jokes have details to set up to them. Like we didn't even talk about like them like gripping their nails so hard into the dashboard when they got into that accident that they left marks into it, and John Candy bent the steering wheel because he was gripping it so hard. Very it's very good. And like I said, even though we're kind of like making fun of some of the absurdities of the film, it's really good, and it's got like a nice touching ending to it, and you can really really rally for John Candy, even to an extent Steve Martin, even though he is a douchebag. At least he's not like a total douchebag. He's doing it because he just wants to get home to his family.
Yeah, I would give this film a 9. I think that it's a really good film. It's a seasonal classic for me. I watch it every holiday, probably for like the last 10 years now. A lot of things really resonate to me. I think it's a really funny film. Still gets me every time. I think that, a lot of it comes from both Steve Martin and John Candy, who are able to play off of each other. I kind of wonder how much of Steve Martin's rant was improvised, because sometimes it does seem like it was a little bit improvised on what he was spouting. But I think, like, while I don't always love Steve Martin, I don't always love his comedy. especially alone or maybe in Saturday Night Live sometimes too. I think here he's played up really well because he is playing that sort of like staunch character that, he's got like the straight man sort of character going on. So I think he does it really well here. And John Candy is really fabulous. I think he really sells the show. His presence alone is just really funny. But not only that, he also gives a nice emotional performance as well, which comes out a lot more towards the end of the film. So I think it's really good. It hits that emotional level that John Hughes films are known for, especially towards the end where you have that like climactic moment of embrace between the two characters who have been apart for so long in the movie. You're rooting for them to get back together. So I think it's a really good John Hughes film. Follows a lot of the standards, but it does it really well with a lot of detail to go about that. And just, a Thanksgiving movie that you can't miss every year. I think you should watch it every year. It's a great film. All right. So another Thanksgiving in the books. Hopefully you're gonna have turkey this Thanksgiving.
I'm not working, but I might. They're giving out a bonus.
Ooh,
$150 for
bonus. If not, you can come to our Thanksgiving. We're having it here this year. So
are you gonna have the Bills game on?
Probably. Yeah, we'll have football on.
Playing the Cowboys.
My family's been saying no football, no football. Well, my family being my sister and my wife, but I'm gonna have football on because it's not Thanksgiving without football on.
Who wears the pants in the family?
That's right. Bill's playing on Thanksgiving this year, huh?
Yeah, against the Cowgirls.
All right. Check it out. So we'll Thanksgiving is coming up. Hopefully you guys have a happy Thanksgiving.
I will
our
say,
American listeners.
A little off topic, because I know you say you don't really care for Steve Martin. I'll say his quality of films after like 93 take a big down,
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I'm saying I don't care for Steve Martin in his like more solo comedy stuff. I think he does an okay job. Like a lot of his work on Saturday Night Live, I wasn't a huge fan of. I like most of his movies, especially from the 80s and 90s. But
if you don't like The Jerk, then there's something.
Yeah, right. No, I like The Jerk.
Or Three Amigos.
Most of it I like. I don't know if I just don't like his solo stuff as much. I like it when he's playing a character.
What's that fucking film that he was in where he's got like 12 kids? Cheaper by the Dozen.
Yeah, Cheaper by the Dozen.
Like Cheaper by the Dozen 1 and 2.
Saw that in theaters. All right, so we're going to be back in 2 weeks, so we won't be back for Thanksgiving. But after that, on that Friday after Thanksgiving, Black Friday, we will be back with another episode. And I think we're going to start our Christmas series.
Oh, we're going to have to, because I don't think we're doing 4. We're going to have to do 5 films.
5 films, huh?
Well, there's a remake coming out.
Yeah, there is. We're going to have to do that one. And I think most people can guess what our Christmas movies are going to be.
You might as well tell them.
You might as well tell them. Definitely going to do Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 5. We're on Part 5 this time.
The tradition that
That's
keeps
right.
on going.
We're almost done. We got Part 5, which is technically the end of the Silent Night, Deadly Night series. Then we have Silent Night, which is the remake of Silent Night, Deadly Night. So we're almost done with that series, which is kind of sad that we've been doing it for this long.
Santa Claus 3.
Yep, we got Santa Claus 3, Martin Short, and the Santa Claus 3, and Kevin Spacey in Santa Claus 3.
Oh, I thought you were talking about we're doing the ref.
No. Kevin Spacey plays like the evil North Pole inspector guy. So we're gonna have to suffer through that.
You mean be delighted?
Yeah, that's right. Then we got the Black Christmas remake, which is coming out pretty soon, I think.
I think November. I think Thanksgiving weekend.
Yeah, something like that. Which I gotta say, am not that excited for. I will see it. But that it got a PG-13 rating and the trailer that gave everything away, I'm really not, super thrilled.
Maybe Blumhouse, is going to surprise you.
I'm hoping it's going to surprise us because right now, first of all, the one thing that does bother me is that they even bother to name it Black Christmas when it really doesn't have anything to do with the original.
They got quite a few nods in there.
Maybe. And I'm hoping that they surprise us and that the trailer was like a kind of like a diversion from the actual.
If anything, it looks like it's like the the uncut version of Halloween 6.
Yeah, kind
with
of.
all the cult stuff,
Yeah, that's what it looks like. It looks like Cult of Thorns sort of thing in Black Christmas. So hopefully that's better than I expect it to be. And then I think I don't know if we've really made a decision for the other films yet. I think I want to do Gremlins. I think that would be fun. So maybe Gremlins and one yet to be determined because I don't really know what else to do. I mean, I obviously have many ideas of what we could do, but
The Ref.
Is that a Christmas movie?
Yes, it is.
Maybe.
It takes place on Christmas.
Maybe we'll do that one. So yeah, I mean, we could do Snow Dogs.
I was gonna say you lived the '90s where they.
No, I know. I
and
don't know the Ref.
And the early 2000s where for like a good 5-year stretch during Christmas, Comedy Central played nothing but The Ref.
No, I
on
know.
repeat.
I don't know. I never watched it.
Dennis Leary's and Kevin Spacey's finest hour.
Yeah, I never watched it. Now we're gonna do Snow Dogs,
Jack Frost,
Santa Puppies. Oh yeah, Jack Frost. Jack Frost, not really.
Grandma got ran over by a reindeer.
Yeah, we didn't do that one either. Yeah.
Or we could do, branch into other holidays. We could do 8 Crazy Nights.
Yeah, yeah. We have. There's a ton of stuff that we could do. So I don't know. We'll leave that one to be determined. But yeah,
you really need to watch Grandma Got Ran Over by a Reindeer.
I know.
It'd be a hard episode to do because it's only like an hour-long animated movie. But my God, is it awful?
Yeah. All right, but that's our Christmas lineup. That's our lineup of, I don't know, what do we call our Christmas series? I can't remember.
Festivus.
Yeah, Festivus. That's what we call it. The Festivus series. Can't believe that.
Way to sell it. Hey,
Yeah.
what do we call it?
I can't believe that didn't come to me. But yeah, the Festivus series. Yeah. So that's going to be when we come back in 2 weeks. So definitely check in with us. I don't know what's the first episode, but
Probably gonna be Black Christmas.
yeah, if it comes out, then that might be the first episode.
I think it is out November 28th.
Well, if it's
So
out
it's either
November
gonna be
28th, then that can't be our
I was
first
gonna say
episode.
it was either gonna be the first or second episode.
Yeah,
so.
it'd probably be the second episode because if it's out the 28th, our episode would already be done by then. So, yeah, but stay tuned for all of that Festivus series coming up in 2 weeks. Thanks for listening to our Thanksgiving episode on Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Obviously, we have all kinds of stuff we're on. We're on Podbean, we're on Stitcher, we're on Apple Podcasts, we're on Google Podcasts. Whatever you listen to for podcasts, we're on it. So subscribe to us, leave us a nice review. We're on Facebook at facebook.com/Blood and Black Rum Podcast. We're on Twitter at Blood and Black Rum. We have an email address at bloodandblackrumpodcast@gmail.com. And if you want to donate to us, we do have a Patreon at patreon.com/bloodandblackrumpodcast, where you can donate as much or as little as you would like, and it helps us maintain the podcast. We might put something up there, like might do some shirts or something like that too. Fun little stuff like that. And mugs. We did mugs before. So if you like drinking coffee, pick up a Blood and Black Rum Podcast mug. Other than that, we'll be back next week or in 2 weeks with the Festivus series starting then. And have a happy Thanksgiving.
Take care.